We are so excited to take you back to Megmade's early days when we sprayed and we did all of our hand painting and rolling in our basement. We're gonna show you how to use the paint that began it all. This is the Megmade furniture paint, and we're gonna show you how to transform it today with the sprayer.
We're taking you from our basement to the basics to how we got started. Over time, vintage furniture can kind of settle, and so the drawers kind of need to be exactly where they come out of, or sometimes they're in the wrong position. So what we always recommend is labeling the drawers. Always remember to store your hardware in an easy to find place. We always use a plastic bag, and it always works out great because it's always there.
We use this thing all the time at our house, and we want to show you how to use it. So it's the Wagner Flexio 3500. It comes with a couple different pieces in here. Here's the instructions. The big gun is the one that you use for bigger projects. It has more paint that comes out. It's good for painting brick on a house. It's what we used. The smaller one is for more of a fine finish. That's what we're going to be using today. It is so easy to connect to the main sprayer. You just go like this, you go like this, and then you pop it right on and it's ready to go. And then you just plug it in, and I'm gonna show you how to mix the paint to have it come through here really nice and to not clog. So we're gonna be using this beautiful color. It's called High Tide. It's dark blue. It was our very first color we came up with. It's the color in our logo, and it's definitely a fan favorite. So we're gonna pop this open like that. This paint has a sediment in it, which allows it to adhere to your furniture, which makes it that you don't have to prime it. So you wanna make sure that's all really well mixed in. If it's not, you can also put it on low in your blender and it washes right out. So now we're gonna pour some of this in here. You can put it in a cup. It is not gonna mess with anything because it's all green. So you can put it in your household stuff, or you can buy some stuff at Home Depot to throw it in. But anyway, we've put it in here. I'm gonna mix it pretty well again. I'm gonna add more water when I'm spraying than when I'm hand painting because it's gotta be able to flow easily through the fine tip of the sprayer. So we're gonna start like this, put just a little bit in there to begin with, see how it's doing when we mix it. You want it to not be quite watery, but you want it to be pretty thin to be able to go smoothly through the sprayer and to not clog. So if you look at it, it goes from being pretty thick in here to I think we have it almost to where we want it in here. So it's a lot more liquidy. Okay, so now it's time to add paint to the sprayer. So I have a strainer that I bought at a hardware store, but you can also use like a cheesecloth. The reason you do this is any like clumps will block the sprayer and make it really hard to get it through. So if you put it through this strainer, you take out all of the clumps. And when you're working with the chalk paint, that's really, really common to have clumps. And you can see kind of the thicker stuff that got stuck in there. All right, so now it's ready to screw right on here. Make it nice and tight. You don't want any air coming through or it'll affect the air flowing through the gun. So make it really nice and tight. Make sure that this tube right here is connected because that's what's putting the air from here into here. So make sure that's nice and tight. Once we get it plugged in, we'll start playing around with this to see at what velocity we want it to come out.
So one thing we actually learned early on is that you need to tape off the drawers. And the reason you tape off the drawers is so you don't get overspray into the drawer boxes. After I put my initial thing of tape, we actually say that you can use newspaper. We used newspaper for years before we started doing masking paper. And always remember where you put your blades so your kids don't step on them. It's almost kind of like wrapping paper, and you can kind of tell who wraps the presents in our house. But it'll get the job done.
I think you purposely wrap poorly so that I have to wrap all the Christmas presents. So I have her plugged in. I have this on really nice and tight. I've made sure everything's tight on here. I've made sure this hose is clean and that it's attached. And then on top here you have the air power. So I'm gonna start it right down the middle, and then if I want more, I can go up to the 8. If I want less, I can go down to the minimum. Here's the trigger here. You can also do the positive and the negative on this if you like to be able to only pull it a little bit versus pulling it a lot. Here's another thing that's kind of cool about this. So when you're going this way, the fan is coming out that way. And so that's what I usually do for going back and forth. When you turn this to go up and down, you want to paint up and down. All right, let's see what we've got. We're gonna turn it on and let her go. On your first coat, you're gonna see that it's coming out and it looks a little speckled. So that could mean one of two things. That could mean that there's not enough water and it's too thick, or it could mean that it's just the first coat and you're seeing a lot of the back through it. So on this one, this should not scare you, but if it's coming out really chunky, you need more water. So this is the first coat. It's 90 degrees today. This is gonna dry like that. And when it's hot outside, another reason that you need to constantly be checking this is this little thing here. The paint dries so fast in this heat, you're gonna get paint dried here, and that's gonna affect the paint coming out. Another thing you want to take into account when you're spraying is you want to spray into the inside of the dresser, because sometimes the drawers go in past this front part. Every time I get ready to spray, I always shake it up a little bit more to make sure it doesn't settle. So now we're going to do the drawers. So between coats, even when I'm spraying, I like to lightly scuff it down, because sometimes dust gets on it when you're outside, maybe even like a mosquito or something. Right now we have like an intense amount of bees for some reason, but I like to just sand it down because I want to give it that really perfect finish in the end. So we're gonna sand down the entire thing just lightly, and then we're gonna give it one more coat. Okay, so we put the first coat on, we've scuffed it after the first coat, gotten rid of any drips if there are any. So now we're gonna turn it on and do the exact same thing we did the first time. You're gonna think that if it's coming out speckly, you're gonna think you need less power. It's the opposite. You need more airflow to make it less speckly. So the first one is a little more speckly than I liked, so I'm turning it up to 7. We'll see what happens. When you spray, it's not only my favorite finish because I just feel like it's a way more professional finish, but I like all three. I like roller, I like brush, I like spray. I just think it gives you the most flawless finish. But the cool thing is you're adding a lot of water to it. So for an entire dresser, I only use that much of the can. So it goes a lot farther. Okay guys, I am so happy with this finish. Kaylee, get up close and show them how smooth it looks. So now that's just the paint. Now we're gonna grab this handy dandy little thing that's kind of melted in the sun, but it's okay, it still works. It's the Mind Your Own Beeswax, and you definitely want to put this on top of your painted furniture, either this or a clear coat of lacquer, so that it really seals it in and protects it. So this is one of Joe's old rags. You don't want to use the same rag as you cleaned it with. So you want to get a new rag and you literally rub it on. And it is, a lot of people call, sometimes panicked, that the color looks lighter. Once you put the wax on, it takes it to the color that you have seen and can expect. So once the wax is on, it will take it a few shades darker. The wax is on. The wax is not totally dry, so I'm being careful not to touch it. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the hardware back on. And in 24 hours, I would take the other half of that rag that has no wax on it and buff it, and it'll give it a really nice sheen. And if you want it shinier, you can get, I think it's 5 zeros steel wool. It's the most amount of zeros steel wool, and if you rub that over it, It will buff the wax and make it that one step shinier. All right, so we took this dresser that was tossed out by somebody and we redid it in our driveway by just using a cleaner, a sprayer, some paint, and some wax. So we know if we can do it, you can do it too.
This is Joe and Megmade. Now show us what you made.
And hashtag you made.
And smash that button to subscribe.